Welcome back, my beautiful fashionistas. Today's inspiration of the dress that we are making is this beautiful, stylish, dartless shirt dress in the mix and match fabric that is Ankara. So feel at home, subscribe if you are new, and let's start the video. So I'm going to be using these fabrics. One is plain and the other one is not plain, as you see. So putting the plain one aside, I have this one. Its full length is 40 inches plus 1 inch as the hemming allowance. So I've marked already my shoulder line. It is half an inch from the top, and that half an inch will be the joining allowance at the shoulder. So half of the shoulder measurement I'm working with 7.5 plus half an inch, I mark 8. Then from there I go down by 8.5 inches. That is according to the armhole measurement that I'm working with. So whatever I have at the shoulder line here, I duplicate it down here so that I get a perfect armhole line to carve out that entire armhole. So after I just connect a line like this, and on top here I take off 1 inch, and that will be my shoulder slant later, and whatever I have remaining I get its midpoint, about 3/4 of an inch, 3 inches and 3/4. And from that midpoint I move in by half an inch, then get my French curve and connect that armhole like that. And this is the front armhole. So guys, I wanted to cut out the back pieces first, but I made a mistake, as you will see, and I decided to just use this entire piece as a template. So it is folded into two. So I think you're seeing me there. I've marked the back armhole also. From the midpoint I just mark the back armhole. So for the neckline I use 3 inches in width plus the 3 inches in depth, and also just carve out like that. So it is a curved neckline since we'll be using a bishop collar. So that's what I have now. So now I'm going to connect from where the neckline has ended to the other 1 inch shoulder slant that we marked already, and from there I add the half an inch as the joining allowance at the shoulder. So I connect another line there that is half an inch from the shoulder slant like that. So this printed piece of fabric is going to be used for the entire back, and then partly at the front, and another part will be in the plain color. So from the top I get the waistline at about 16 inches, then the hip line at around 25 inches. So you have to measure those markings on your body like that. 9 inches from the waistline, that's where I get the hip line. So that is it so far, and this dress is dartless, there is no dart. So now getting the bust measurement, dividing it by 4 plus 1 inch as the sewing allowance, and another half inch as you know is allowance. So that's what I mark at the bust line, and I come at the waistline. I do the same, dividing by 4 plus half an inch is allowance plus the 1 inch that will be used as the sewing allowance. I do that even at the hip line, and whatever I have at the hip line is what I mark at the hem line. And then I get my rulers and connect the points. Big up to my big sister, she blessed me with the rulers and the picking shears, the zigzag scissors. So guys, now I'm good to go, at least. So now, after connecting, my shape comes out like that. So that is where I made the mistake. Instead of marking the 1 inch for the back neckline, I marked 3 inches for the front neckline. But anyway, we still roll. So I decided to use this as the template. So now I have the plain fabric and I'm going to use it partly for the front. One side of the front is plain, that is the left side, and I've left 2 inches for the button allowance. So I just continue my neckline into that button allowance like that, and then just start cutting that first plain piece of the front like that. So I decided to use this template later for the other part of the front that is printed. So this is what I have, guys, one part of the front, and this same one will be used for the other part of the front. Later I'll show you. So now, thank God I had another fabric. I decided to cut again the back part, changing the neckline to 1 inch. So now the only thing I have to do here is to change the neckline to 1 inch, but make sure you add the half an inch sewing allowance because it is already there. So you consider it as you're marking the 1.5 inch in case you make the mistake like me. But anyway, don't make that mistake, learn from me. So that is the 1 inch. I connect, still curved, cut it out and cut the other parts, and this is now what I have. So officially now this is the back part, the new one with 1 inch as the depth at the neckline. So now I consider this the one that I in quotes used as the template, and finish up the front armhole like this, and then I use this same one to finish up the armhole for the plain part of the fabrics properly like this. And after cutting it out, remember it is on one side, I'm going to use that plain material now to cut out the other front piece from this template. So the other side will just be a wastage kind of, but it is never a wastage when it comes to sewing. I'll use it for something else later. So now these are my 2 front pieces with button allowances. So guys, if you want to add the other continuation on this printed fabric at the length, you can increase that length at the hemline, but if you don't want it, you leave it out. You can just increase it by about 5 inches. So when it comes to sewing, I'll start with the button allowances. Remember, I have 2 inches as the button allowances, so I'll be folding 1 inch. I'll just double fold by 1 inch like that, and just run a straight stitch, top stitch, to form the button allowances on both pieces of the front like that entire center front. And then after, I'll take them right sides facing each other. I'll finish up the shoulders, join the shoulders, and add my sleeves. I did the sleeves
2,000 years later.
And after everything, guys, this is what I have. Everything is done so far. I have a separate video on how to cut basic sleeves. You can check it out on my channel. and from there I just measure this entire neckline measurement. So make sure you just double measure to get the correct measurement, and cut out a fabric that is going to be used for the bishop collar. So on fold it is about 2.5 inches. You can even use 2.25, having half inch on top and on at the bottom for the joinings. So this is what I have, and after the measurement, make sure you add 1 inch or half inch on both sides and fold it like this into two, so that I shape out that the corners of the bishop collar. But if you don't want to shape them, you can leave them out. I think as you see even from our inspiration picture, they are not all that curved at the ends. So here am I carving the ends like this. I think you saw how I folded them, and now you can separate them into two, or you can even leave them out like that. So I just separated them into two so that I add some stiffness, some interfacing onto one of them, because I'm using the hard stiff. So now I have those two, and I'll be joining them along the curve on top there by half an inch. So you have to add that allowance. So here is my bishop collar, and I've added stiff. As you see, that white part is the stiff onto one of the pieces, and then I'll just take them to the sewing machine to join them. So here am I after joining the bishop collar. This is how it looks like on the, so I have a half an inch on both sides, and I will use that to sandwich my dress into that bishop collar. I've marked the allowance, as you see, half an inch, so I'll just sandwich this dress into the bishop collar, top stitch, and the thing will be finished. The dress will be done like this. Check how the collar has been formed very nicely, very nicely. I like what I see. So this is the addition if you want to put it about 4 inches, 5 inches, but if you don't want it, you can leave it out. So we didn't consider it in this dress, but if you want to, do you. And that is how the dress looks like. It is dartless. You can just add a belt, or you can just leave it as a free dress. And this is it from the back. I love the collar, you guys. I love the collar. But if you want, you can even add that according to you. And after the buttons, this is how it looks like. So beautiful. Do you love it, guys, as I do? So that is it about the dress. Thank you so much for watching Yvonne Winifred UG. See you in any of my other videos.